In this video, we will be discussing language disorders and the neuroscientific understanding surrounding this topic. In particular, we will be looking at two examples of language disorders, Wernicke's aphasia and Broca's aphasia. To begin, let's start with the basics. What is language and why do we use it? We all use language as a pivotal part of everyday life, whether that be spoken, written, or sign language. It is the method of communication used by us humans involving the structured and conventional use of words. The processes involved in language are a function of two main parts of the brain. Broca's area, which is located in the left frontal lobe and was identified by French neurologist Paul Broca, has been responsible for the production and articulation of speech, and Wernicke's area, named after the German neurologist who first linked language comprehension and development to activity in the left posterior temporal lobe of the brain. Impairments or damage to these areas can lead an individual to show persistent difficulties in expressing themselves and understanding spoken language, which is known as a language disorder. Disorders of language are common, with 1 in 5 Australian children presenting with some form of speech or language disorder when starting school. While some children grow out of it, language disorders can continue throughout adulthood, and although they are most often developmental, they can also manifest suddenly, such as in the case of brain injury or neurological illness. As well as the more commonly recognised effects of language disorders on academics and professional achievement, language disorders also have significant social and psychological impact on an individual, as they have been linked to an increased likelihood of mental illness, behavioural disorders, social isolation, and unemployment. These impacts, in combination with the socio-economic burden, which is estimated to be between $1.4 and $3.3 billion per year, make language disorders an important public health concern. So let's dive deeper by looking into the different types of language disorders. There are two main types: expressive, which affects Broca's area, and receptive disorders, which are associated with damage to Wernicke's area. Some people may even present with a combination of both. As previously mentioned, language disorders are often developmental, arising in children from a complex combination of genetic, neurological, and environmental factors that are not completely understood. However, in this video, we're going to be focusing on language disorders caused by specific damage to the brain, which is known as aphasia. Specifically, we'll look into Wernicke's or receptive aphasia and Broca's aphasia, aka expressive aphasia. Wernicke's aphasia involves problems with language comprehension, with the major characteristic of this language disorder being that those affected speak with normal fluency and rhythm. However, the sentences will have no meaning and are incoherent. This is because it is suggested that the location near the primary auditory cortex makes Wernicke's area a high-order area for sound recognition. Thus, damage to this area, most commonly caused by stroke, results in difficulty in processing the meaning of words. Broca's aphasia, on the other hand, is an expressive language disorder, resulting from damage to Broca's area, which is the area responsible for speech production near the part of the motor cortex that controls the mouth and lips. Hence, whilst those affected have little difficulty understanding speech, they present with trouble using spoken language, with clinical symptoms including slow, laborious speech, the reliance on stock standard phrases, and the use of incomplete sentences. For instance, instead of saying "I will take the dog for a walk," someone with Broca's aphasia may say "walk dog." Currently, no standard treatment exists for either Broca's or Wernicke's aphasia. However, speech and language therapy has been recognised as a key component of care for patients with both forms of aphasia. Recovery generally takes place over a 2-year period. However, this timeframe and the degree of improvement are influenced by many factors, including the cause, area, and extent of the brain damage, as well as the age, health, and motivation of the individual. Speech and language therapy is thought to be most effective in the early stages of the recovery process of aphasia, and it aims to improve an individual's communication abilities by enhancing their remaining abilities, addressing weaknesses, and teaching new compensatory strategies of communication. Since no standard treatment exists, there are many different therapy options available. One such example is constraints-induced therapy, which is an intensive approach which directs the individual to use impaired spoken language whilst constraining the use of intact compensatory communication methods such as gesturing or writing. Another known method is melodic intonation therapy, which focuses on improving expressive language through the use of singing as an intact function whilst activating areas of the right hemisphere that are still capable of language. Now for the future directions of language disorders. Current research into aphasia is exploring new methods for its evaluation and treatment, as well as ways to further advance our knowledge of the function of the brain. Medical treatments such as drug therapies are currently under investigation in treating aphasia, with studies testing their effectiveness in improving recovery in combination with speech language therapy. Other research is focused on exploring and comparing the way in which language is processed in the normal and damaged brain as a means to better understand the recovery process and predict the severity of aphasia. This includes the use of advanced imaging methods such as functional magnetic resonance imaging and magnetic resonance imaging. So as we have discussed in this video, whilst there are a number of treatment options available for language disorders, there is a lack of research supporting the optimal approach for the delivery of language therapy, and there are many aspects that need to be addressed, including the required amount and intensity of treatment, as well as the underlying causes of the problem. Further research is therefore needed to better understand and treat language disorders. Thank you.